The lights of Harmony Point Space Station flickered like stars against the black of space. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its massive ports every day. Inside the station, aliens of all shapes and sizes walked through the wide hallways, buying and selling goods from across the galaxy. Daeho wiped down the last table at Stellar Wind's restaurant. Her shift was finally over after 12 long hours of serving customers. Her feet hurt and her back ached from carrying heavy trays. She was just a simple human waitress, nothing special in a place full of powerful alien traders and diplomats. Another long day, she said to herself as she hung up her apron. The restaurant was empty now, except for the cleaning robots that hummed quietly as they worked. Daeho walked through the station's back corridors toward her small apartment. These hallways were darker and quieter than the main areas. Most people avoided them, but Daeho used them as a shortcut every night. She heard a small crying sound coming from behind some garbage containers. At first, she thought it might be a broken machine or a hurt animal, but as she got closer, the sound became clearer. Someone was crying. Daeho looked behind the containers and gasped. A small dragon, no bigger than a house cat, was huddled in the corner. Its scales were deep blue and silver, and tears rolled down its tiny face. But something was wrong with its wings. One wing was twisted and bent in a strange way. Every person in the galaxy knew about dragons. They were proud, fierce, and dangerous. Their empire controlled dozens of star systems. Dragons never showed weakness, and they never asked for help from other species. Yet here was a baby dragon, alone and scared. "Hey there, little one," Daeho said softly. She knelt down slowly, keeping her hands where the dragon could see them. "Are you hurt?" The baby dragon looked up at her with large, frightened eyes. It tried to spread its wings to make itself look bigger, but the twisted wing just hung uselessly at its side. The dragon winced in pain and started crying harder. Daeho's heart broke. She had always loved children, even alien children. This little dragon was just a scared baby who needed help. She didn't care that dragons were supposed to be dangerous. "It's okay," she whispered. "I won't hurt you. My name is Daeho. What's yours?" The dragon looked at her suspiciously but stopped crying. It made some soft, chirping sounds that Daeho's universal translator couldn't understand. Baby dragons probably spoke a different language than adult dragons. Daeho noticed the dragon was shivering. The back corridors were cold, and the little creature had been there for a long time. She took off her jacket and gently wrapped it around the dragon. The dragon didn't fight her. Instead, it seemed grateful for the warmth. It made soft purring sounds and leaned against her hand when she petted its head. "You can't fly, can you?" Daeho asked, looking at the twisted wing. The dragon's eyes filled with shame, and it looked away. "That's okay, little one. Everyone is different. Being different doesn't make you bad." Daeho thought for a moment. She couldn't leave the dragon here alone, but she also couldn't carry it easily. Even baby dragons were heavier than they looked. Then she had an idea. She took her emergency medical kit from her bag and used the fabric bandages to make a soft sling. She tested it carefully to make sure it wouldn't hurt the dragon, then gently placed the little creature inside. The dragon fit perfectly, with its head peeking out so it could see everything. "There," Daeho said. "Now we can find your family together." The dragon seemed to understand. It made happy chirping sounds and nuzzled against her neck. Daeho smiled and started walking toward the main areas of the station. She asked everyone she met if they had seen any adult dragons looking for a lost child. Most people just stared at her in shock. A human carrying a dragon baby was not something anyone expected to see. Finally, a Centaurian trader pointed toward the diplomatic section. "I saw some big dragons there earlier," he said. "They looked very upset about something." Daeho hurried toward the diplomatic section. The baby dragon in the sling had fallen asleep, tired from its adventure. As they got closer, Dae-ho heard loud, angry voices speaking in the dragon language. She turned a corner and saw them. 3 massive dragons stood in the hallway, each one as tall as 2 humans. Their scales gleamed like metal armor, and their eyes glowed with inner fire. These were not creatures to mess with. One dragon was larger than the others. He wore robes that looked expensive and important. His voice was deep and commanding as he spoke to the other dragons. Dae-ho didn't understand the words, but she could hear the worry and fear in his voice. "Excuse me," Dae-ho called out softly. All 3 dragons turned to look at her. Their eyes went wide when they saw the human woman carrying a dragon baby. The large dragon's mouth fell open in shock. The baby dragon in the sling woke up and saw the adult dragons. It made excited chirping sounds and reached out with its little claws. "Wu Jin!" the large dragon cried. He rushed toward Dae-ho, then stopped suddenly, as if remembering that she was a different species who might be scared of him. "Is this your child?" Dae-ho asked. She could see the love and relief in the big dragon's eyes. The dragon nodded, then spoke in perfect human language. "Yes, this is my son, Wu Jin. I am—" He paused, as if deciding something important. "I am Tai-sung. How did you find him?" "He was hiding behind some garbage containers in the back corridors," Dae-ho said. "He seemed scared and cold, so I helped him." She carefully lifted Wu Jin out of the sling and held him out to his father. But instead of taking his son immediately, Tae-sung stared at her with amazement. You helped him?" Tae-sung asked. "Even though you could see his wing?" Dae-ho looked confused. "Of course I helped him. He's just a baby who needed help. What does his wing have to do with anything?" Tae-sung took his son gently, cradling him against his massive chest. Wu Jin purred and rubbed his head against his father's scales, but Tae-sung kept staring at Dae-ho as if she had done something impossible. "Most beings would have walked away," Tae-sung said quietly. "In my culture, a child like Wu Jin is seen as flawed, shameful. Many would not touch him." Dae-ho felt anger rise in her chest. "That's horrible. He's perfect just the way he is." Tae-sung's eyes widened even more. This human woman had not only helped his disabled son, but she actually believed the child was perfect. He had never met anyone who thought that way. "What is your name?" Tae-sung asked. "Dae-ho. I work at Stellar Wen's restaurant." "Dae-ho," Tae-sung repeated as if memorizing it. "You have given me back the most precious thing in my life. I will not forget this kindness." The next day, Dae-ho was surprised to find Tae-sung waiting for her outside Stellar Wind's restaurant. The big dragon looked nervous, which seemed strange for such a powerful creature. Little Wu Jin was with him, riding on his father's shoulder. "Dae-ho," Tae-sung said when he saw her. "Could we talk? There are things I need to tell you." Dae-ho smiled at Wu Jin, who chirped happily when he saw her. "Of course, but I have to work soon." "Actually," Tae-sung said, "I have already spoken to your manager. He has given you the day off, with pay." Dae-ho raised her eyebrows. Restaurant managers didn't usually give waitresses paid days off unless someone very important asked them to. "Who are you, really?" Tae-sung was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I am the Emperor of the Dragon Imperium. I rule over 50 star systems and command the most powerful fleet in the galaxy." Dae-ho stared at him. Then she looked at little Wu Jin, who was trying to catch her attention by making cute sounds. "Is Wu Jin hungry?" she asked. "I could make him some breakfast." Tae-sung blinked in surprise. Most people would be scared or excited to meet an emperor. This human woman just wanted to feed his son. "You are not afraid of me?" he asked. "Should I be? You seem like a good father who loves his son. That's what matters to me." They went to a quiet cafe on the station. Dae-ho ordered food for Wu Jin and helped him eat. The little dragon made happy sounds as he ate, sometimes sharing bites with Daeho. In my culture, Tae-sung said slowly, children like Wu Jin are hidden away. The Council of Dragons says that weakness must not be shown to other species. They want me to send him to a faraway place where no one will see him. Daeho stopped feeding Wu Jin and looked at Tae-sung with angry eyes. That's cruel. He's not weak. He's just different. The dragons believe that only the strong should lead and be seen. A disabled child brings shame to the family. That's stupid, Daeho said bluntly. In human culture, we learned long ago that taking care of everyone makes us stronger, not weaker. We help people who are different, because that's the right thing to do. Tae-sung had never heard ideas like this before. But what if others see weakness? What if enemies think we are soft? Daeho picked up Wu Jin and let him sit on her lap. The little dragon purred and played with her fingers. Look at him, she said. He's smart, loving, and brave. Yesterday he was lost and scared, but he didn't give up. He waited for help to come. That's not weakness. That's strength. As if understanding her words, Wu Jin made proud, chirping sounds and puffed out his little chest. Two other dragons approached their table. They wore military uniforms and looked serious. Your Majesty, one of them said, we must return to the ship. The council is asking questions about why we are staying here so long. This was General Kyung-soo, Tae-sung's military advisor. Behind him stood Ambassador Hye-jin, who handled diplomatic matters. General Kyung-soo, Ambassador Hye-jin, Tae-sung said, this is Daeho. She is the human who found Wu Jin. Both dragons looked surprised to see their prince sitting happily on a human's lap. In dragon culture, this would be unthinkable. Your Majesty, General Kyung-soo said carefully, perhaps it would be better if the prince returned to his rooms on the ship. Why? Daeho asked. He's having fun. Look how happy he is. Ambassador Hye-jin looked uncomfortable. Humans might not understand, but dragon culture has rules about children like the prince. You mean disabled children, Daeho said directly. I understand perfectly. You want to hide him because you think he makes you look bad. The two dragons looked shocked. No one talked to dragons this way, especially not humans. But Tae-sung held up his hand to stop them from responding. She is right, he said quietly. We are ashamed of our own prince, and that shame makes us cruel. Over the next few hours, Daeho showed the dragons around the station. She took them to the Human Medical Center, where doctors treated patients with all kinds of disabilities and differences. She showed them the human school, where children who couldn't walk, see, or hear learned alongside everyone else. In our old days, Daeho explained, humans used to hide people who were different too. But we learned that was wrong. Now we know that everyone has something valuable to offer. Wu Jin loved seeing all the new places. He was especially excited by the human children, who thought he was amazing and wanted to pet his scales. No one stared at his twisted wing or looked away in disgust. These human children are not afraid of Wu Jin, Ambassador Hye-jin observed. They treat him like any other child. Because that's what he is, Daeho said simply. That evening, Tae-sung received a message on his communication device. His face became serious as he read it. What's wrong? Daeho asked. The Dragon Council has learned that I am here with Wu Jin, Tae-sung said. They are sending ships to bring us home. They want to remove me from power because I refuse to hide my son. General Kyung-soo looked worried. Your Majesty, if the council removes you, they will choose a new emperor, someone who follows the old ways completely. Then thousands of disabled dragon children will suffer, Ambassador Hye-jin added quietly. Daeho picked up Wu Jin, who sensed the tension and made worried sounds. There has to be something we can do. The council expects me to choose, Tae-sung said sadly. Keep my throne and send Wu Jin away forever, or lose my empire and live in exile." "What do you want to do?" Daeho asked. Tae-sung looked at his son, then at Daeho. "Yesterday I thought I had to choose between being a good emperor and being a good father. But you have shown me something different. Maybe the best emperor is one who protects all his people, even the ones others want to throw away." "Then we fight," Daeho said firmly. "Not with weapons, but with truth. We show them that caring for everyone makes dragons stronger, not weaker." General Kyung-soo shook his head. "The council will never listen. They have believed in the old ways for thousands of years." "Then we change their minds," Daeho said. "We show them what Wu Jin can do. We prove that different doesn't mean useless." Ambassador Hae-jin looked thoughtful. "The human is right. If we could demonstrate that disabled dragons have value, it's worth trying," Tae-sung said. "But it will be dangerous. If we fail, not only will I lose my throne, but other families with disabled children will be punished." Daeho held Wu Jin closer. The little dragon looked up at her with trusting eyes. "Sometimes the most important battles are the ones that seem impossible to win," she said. "But if we don't try, nothing will ever change." Tae-sung nodded slowly. For the first time in his life, he had hope that his son might have a real future. But first, they would have to face the most powerful dragons in the galaxy and convince them to change thousands of years of tradition. The dragon fleet was already on its way. Daeho had an idea, but she needed help from other humans. She contacted her brother Young-ho, who worked as a counselor helping people deal with difficult times in their lives. She also called Dr. In-soo, a scientist who studied different alien species, and So Young, an engineer who designed helpful technology. "I need you to come to Harmony Point as fast as you can," Daeho told them over the communication system. "There's a little dragon who needs our help, and it might change everything between humans and dragons." Young-ho arrived first. He was a big, gentle man who had lost his leg in an accident years ago. Now he walked with a mechanical leg that worked even better than his old one. When he met Wu Jin, the little dragon was fascinated by the artificial limb. "Does it hurt?" Wu Jin asked in his broken human language. He was learning to speak from Daeho. "Not at all," Young-ho said, kneeling down so Wu Jin could look at the mechanical leg closely. "It helps me do everything I used to do and some things I couldn't do before." Wu Jin touched the metal leg carefully. "Could I have something like this for my wing?" Young-ho looked at Tae-sung, who was watching with amazement. "In human culture, we don't fix people because they're broken. We give them tools to do what they want to do." Dr. In-soo arrived next. She was a small, quiet woman who knew more about dragon biology than almost any human alive. She examined Wu Jin's wing very gently while Tae-sung held his son. "The wing bone is twisted, but the muscles are strong," she said. "With the right support, he might be able to fly short distances. Even if he can't, there are other ways to move through the air." "What do you mean?" Tae-sung asked. Engineer So Young answered that question when she arrived with a bag full of strange devices. She was young and excited about technology, always building new things to solve problems. "I've been working on flight assistance devices for humans who want to explore planets with different gravity," she explained. "With some changes, they could help Wu Jin too." She showed them a harness with small jet engines and stabilizers. This would let him fly even if his wings don't work perfectly. "And look at this." She pulled out what looked like a beautiful wing made of metal and fabric. "If one wing is weak, an artificial wing can balance it out." Wu Jin's eyes went wide. "I could really fly?" "We'll have to test it carefully," Dr. In-soo said. "But yes, I think you could fly." Over the next few days, the humans worked with Wu Jin every day. Dr. In-soo taught him exercises to strengthen his good wing and the muscles around his twisted wing. So Young fitted him with a practice harness and taught him how to use the controls. Young-ho helped him deal with the fear and frustration when things didn't work right away. Most importantly, Dae-ho spent time just playing with Woo-jin and helping him feel confident about himself. She taught him human games and songs. She showed him art made by human artists who couldn't see, hear, or use their hands in normal ways. Humans believe that everyone has special gifts, Dae-ho told him. Your gift might not be the same as other dragons' gifts, but that doesn't make it less important. Tae-sung watched everything. He saw his son becoming happier and more confident every day. He saw humans treating Woo-jin not as a problem to be solved, but as a person to be helped and loved. "Why do you do this?" Tae-sung asked Dae-ho one evening. "You barely know us, and helping us might cause trouble with your own people." Dae-ho was teaching Woo-jin to paint with brushes held in his claws. The little dragon was making a picture of his father breathing fire at some enemy ships. "Because it's right," she said simply. "When someone needs help, you help them. When someone is treated badly, you stand up for them. That's how humans try to live. But you get nothing out of it." Dae-ho looked at Woo-jin, who was proudly showing his painting to Young-ho. The little dragon was laughing and making happy sounds. "I get to see him smile," she said. "I get to know that somewhere in the galaxy, there's less sadness than there was before. That's worth more than money or prizes." General Kyung-soo, who had been watching the humans work with Woo-jin, approached Tae-sung privately. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "I must tell you something. I have a daughter. She was born without the ability to breathe fire, which is considered a serious flaw in our culture. I have kept her hidden on a distant planet for her whole life." Tae-sung was shocked. His most trusted general, a dragon known for his strength and honor, had been hiding the same kind of secret. "Watching these humans with Prince Woo-jin," General Kyung-soo continued, "I realize I have been a coward. I have abandoned my own child because I was afraid of what others would think." "You are not the only one," Ambassador Hyejin said, joining their conversation. "I know at least 6 dragon families who have hidden disabled children. We all thought we were alone." Tae-sung felt anger and sadness at the same time. How many dragon children were living in loneliness because their families were ashamed of them? "When the council fleet arrives," he said, "we will show them what Woo-jin has learned. We will prove that disabled dragons can be valuable members of society." "And if they still refuse to listen?" General Kyung-soo asked. Tae-sung watched his son trying on the flight assistance harness that So Young had made for him. With the artificial wing and the small jets, Woo-jin could actually hover in the air for a few seconds. "Then we will have to make a choice," Tae-sung said. "Do we follow laws that hurt children, or do we protect the children and change the laws?" The next day, sensors detected a large dragon fleet approaching Harmony Point. The council had sent 20 warships and thousands of troops. They weren't coming for a friendly discussion. Captain Dong-woo, the human security chief of the station, met with Tae-sung to discuss the situation. "We can't fight a dragon fleet," he said honestly. "But we also can't let them take Woo-jin if you don't want them to. What do you suggest?" "We make this a public event. Dragons might ignore the rights of one disabled child, but it's harder to ignore the whole galaxy watching." Dae-ho overheard their conversation. "We need to show everyone what Woo-jin can do. Let him demonstrate that he's not useless or shameful." Tae-sung nodded. "Then we make our stand here. Win or lose, the galaxy will see that some dragons are willing to fight for their children." Young-ho put his hand on Tae-sung's shoulder. "You're not fighting alone. Humans don't abandon friends, especially when those friends are protecting children." As the dragon fleet got closer, news reporters from dozens of worlds arrived at Harmony Point. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when an emperor chose his disabled son over his throne. The biggest test was coming, and everything would depend on whether a little dragon with a twisted wing could show the galaxy what courage really meant. The dragon fleet arrived at Harmony Point like a storm of metal and fire. 20 massive warships surrounded the space station, their weapons ready. The leader of the fleet was Admiral Jin Woo, who had been Tae Sung's friend since they were young, dragons learning to fly together. Admiral Jin Woo's ship docked with the station, and he came aboard with a group of serious-looking dragons. They wore the formal robes of the Dragon Council and carried themselves like judges about to deliver punishment. Tae Sung, Admiral Jin Woo said when they met in the station's main conference room. His voice was sad but firm. "You must return. With us immediately. The Council has decided that you are no longer fit to be Emperor." Tae Sung stood straight and proud. "Because I refuse to abandon my son? Because you have brought shame to our entire species," said one of the Council dragons, an old female named Elder Sun-hee. "By allowing a disabled child to be seen in public, you show the galaxy that dragons can be weak." "The only weak thing here is our cruelty to children," Tae Sung replied. Daeho stood beside him, holding Woo Jin in her arms. The little dragon was wearing the flight assistant's harness that So Young had made for him. He looked small and scared, but he held his head up bravely. "You will return the prince to dragon space immediately," Elder Sun-hee continued. "He will be taken to a secure facility where he will live quietly, away from public view." "No," Daeho said loudly. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. A human waitress was challenging the most powerful dragons in the galaxy. "I formally request asylum for Woo Jin under human protection laws. As long as he's on this station, he's under our care." Admiral Jin Woo looked shocked. "You cannot be serious, human. This is not your concern." "It became my concern the moment I found him crying and alone behind some garbage containers," Daeho said. Her voice was strong and clear. "Any species that would hurt a child is wrong, no matter how powerful they are." Station Director Soo Jin, a calm human woman who ran Harmony Point, stepped forward. "The human is correct. This station is neutral, territory. We don't allow anyone to harm children here, regardless of their species." Captain Dong Woo and his security team moved to stand behind Director Soo Jin. They were vastly outnumbered by the dragons, but they stood firm. "You would risk war over one disabled dragon child?" Elder Sun-hee asked coldly. "We would risk anything to protect children," Director Soo Jin replied. The tension in the room was thick. Dragon warriors reached for their weapons, and human security officers did the same. One wrong move, and the meeting would become a battle. But Admiral Jin Woo held up his hand to stop his soldiers. He looked at Woo Jin, who was clinging to Daeho but trying to look brave. "Jin Woo," Tae Sung said quietly, "do you remember when we were children? You had trouble learning to breathe fire. The other young dragons made fun of you, but I helped you practice until you got better. Was I wrong to help you when you were struggling?" Admiral Jin Woo's expression changed. He remembered those days clearly. "That was different," he said, but his voice wasn't as confident as before. "I overcame my weakness. What if you hadn't been able to? What if you never learned to breathe fire properly? Would that have made you worthless?" Admiral Jin Woo didn't answer, but everyone could see he was thinking hard about the question. Young Ho, Daeho's brother, stepped forward. "Admiral, can I show you something?" He rolled up his pants leg to reveal his artificial limb. "I lost my real leg in an accident. According to your way of thinking, that should make me weak and shameful. But this mechanical leg lets me do things I never could do before. I can run faster, jump higher, and work longer than I ever could with my birth leg." He demonstrated by jumping high into the air and landing perfectly balanced. Several dragons looked impressed despite themselves. Dr. In-Soo joined the conversation. "In human society, we've learned that diversity makes us stronger. People with different abilities see problems in different ways and come up with solutions that normal people never think of." "These are just words," Elder Sun-hee said dismissively. "You cannot prove that disabled dragons have any value." "Actually, we can," Daeho said. She set Woo Jin down and helped him activate his flight assistance system. Show them, Woojin. The little dragon took a deep breath and spread his wings. The artificial wing unfolded beside his natural wing, and the small jets hummed to life. Slowly, carefully, Woojin lifted off the ground. Every dragon in the room gasped. They had never seen anything like it. Woojin flew in a small circle around the room, his face shining with joy and pride. When he landed, he was breathing hard but smiling hugely. "I can fly," he said in his small voice. "I'm not useless." Admiral Jin Woo stared at the little dragon in amazement. "How is this possible?" "Human technology and dragon determination," So Young said proudly. "When we work together, we can solve any problem." For several long minutes, nobody spoke. The dragons were trying to process what they had seen. A disabled dragon, flying with pride and joy, helped by humans who asked for nothing in return. Finally, Admiral Jin Woo spoke, his voice very quiet. "Tae-sung, there is something I must tell you, something I have hidden for many years." He paused, looking around the room at all the faces watching him. "I have a daughter. Her name is Bitna. She was born without the ability to breathe fire, and her wings are smaller than normal. I have kept her hidden on a remote planet her entire life, because I was ashamed." The other council dragons looked shocked. Admiral Jinwoo was known as one of the strongest, most honorable dragons alive, if he had a disabled child. "Watching your son fly just now," Admiral Jinwoo continued, "I realized something. I am not protecting my daughter by hiding her. I am punishing her for being different from what I expected." Elder son He looked angry. "Admiral, you cannot mean to support this madness. Our traditions exist for good reasons." "Do they?" Admiral Jinwoo asked. "What good reason is there for making children live in loneliness and shame?" Another dragon from the council, High Priest Myung-ho, spoke up unexpectedly. "I have been reading human philosophy books that the Waitress gave me," he said, looking at Dae-ho. "Their ideas about compassion and inclusion are interesting. Perhaps we should consider whether our traditions truly honor our ancestors or simply perpetuate fear." Elder son He realized she was losing control of the situation. "This is ridiculous. We cannot change thousands of years of dragon law because of one human's sentimental ideas about disabled children." "You're right," Tae-sung said. "We can't change the law just because of one human's ideas. But we can change it because it's the right thing to do. We can change it because our children deserve better." The room fell silent again. Outside the windows, they could see more ships arriving. Human vessels, but not warships. They were medical ships, supply ships, and transport ships full of volunteers who had come to support Harmony Point. "It seems," Director Sujin observed, "that humans throughout the galaxy disagree with your assessment of the situation, Elder Sun He. They're willing to risk their own safety to protect one disabled child." Admiral Jin Woo looked out at the human ships, then back at Woo Jin, who was showing his flight harness to some of the younger dragons on his crew. They looked fascinated and excited, not disgusted or ashamed. "Tae-sung," he said finally, "what exactly are you proposing?" "That we stop punishing dragons for being different," Tae-sung said. "That we help them instead of hiding them. That we become the kind of species that other worlds respect, not fear." The future of the Dragon Imperium hung in the balance, dependent on whether tradition or compassion would win the day. News of the standoff at Harmony Point spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed travel. Every major news network sent reporters to cover the story. The sight of human ships arriving to protect a disabled dragon child captured the imagination of billions of beings on thousands of worlds. On the dragon homeworld, something unexpected began to happen. Young dragons who had been watching the news started asking difficult questions. Why was their emperor being punished for loving his son? Why were disabled dragons treated like criminals? 3. Young dragons named Bitna, Changmin, and Acha decided to do something brave. They were students at the most prestigious dragon academy, and they had been taught all their lives that weakness was shameful. But watching little Wu Jin fly on the news broadcasts made them think differently. "My brother was born blind," Bitna told her friends quietly. "My parents sent him away when he was just a baby. I haven't seen him in 10 years, but I think about him every day." "I have a cousin who can't use her back legs properly," Changmin added. "She lives alone on a mining planet because the family doesn't want anyone to know about her." Acha was crying. "My little sister doesn't talk the way other dragons do. She makes different sounds, and she thinks about things in a different way. My parents are planning to send her to a special facility next month." The 3 friends made a decision that would change their lives forever. They contacted the dragon families with hidden disabled children and organized a protest. Using the human communication networks, they spread the word that any dragon who believed in compassion should come to the capital city square. Back at Harmony Point, an even more important visitor arrived. Elder Unji was the oldest dragon alive, nearly 1,000 years old. She was the keeper of the most ancient dragon laws and traditions. When her ship docked at the station, every dragon bowed deeply. "Yunji," Elder Sunhee said with relief. "You will make them see reason. Tell them that the old ways are the best ways." But Elder Yunji surprised everyone. Instead of supporting the council, she asked to meet Wu Jin privately. Daeho brought the little dragon to Elder Yunji's room. Wu Jin was nervous, but excited to meet such an important dragon. He had been practicing his formal dragon manners. "Hello, Great Elder," Wu Jin said, bowing as low as his flight harness would allow. "I am honored to meet you." Elder Unji looked at him carefully. "Tell me, young prince, what do you know of dragon history?" Wu Jin's eyes lit up. Thanks to the human teachers on Harmony Point, he had been learning about dragon culture and history every day. "I know about the Great Migration, when our ancestors first left the dying homeworld," he said. "I know about the War of 3 Suns, when Emperor Kyungmin united all the dragon clans. I know about the Treaty of Stars, when dragons first made peace with other species." For the next hour, Wu Jin recited poetry, told stories, and discussed philosophy with Elder Unji. The ancient dragon was amazed by his knowledge and wisdom. "This child knows more about our culture than most adult dragons," Elder Unji said when Daeho returned. "How is this possible?" "Human teachers don't care if someone learns differently," Daeho explained. "They care that someone wants to learn. Wu Jin loves dragon history and culture. Being disabled doesn't change that." Elder Yunji was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "I must tell you a story that I have never told anyone before." She told them about her own child, born over 500 years ago, with a condition that made his scales fall off and regrow constantly. Other dragons were disgusted by his appearance, and the council demanded that she send him away. "I was young and afraid," Elder Yunji said sadly. "I did what they asked. I sent my son to live alone on a distant planet. He died there, lonely and forgotten, without ever knowing that his mother loved him." Tears ran down the ancient dragon's face. "For 500 years, I have regretted that decision. I have helped make laws that separated families and punished children for being different. I told myself it was for the good of our species, but really it was because I was a coward." She looked at Wu Jin, who was listening with wide, understanding eyes. "You are not weak, little prince," she said. "You are brave in ways that I never was, and your father is the kind of emperor our people deserve." Meanwhile, on the dragon homeworld, the protest organized by the young dragons had grown enormous. Thousands of dragons filled the capital square, many of them bringing disabled family members who had been hidden for years. Changmin's cousin arrived in a special wheelchair that helped her move around. Bitna's blind brother came with a guide, dragon, and showed that he could navigate perfectly using sound and smell. Icha's little sister demonstrated that her different way of thinking allowed her to solve puzzles that confused other dragons. "We are not ashamed anymore," Bitna announced to the crowd and the news cameras. "We love our families exactly as they are." Back at Harmony Point, Elder Yunji called for a formal meeting of all the dragons. Elder Sunhee expected the ancient dragon to support traditional views, but instead, Elder Yunji shocked everyone. "I have lived for nearly 1,000 years, she said. "I have seen our species grow strong and proud, but I have also seen us become cruel and heartless toward our own children. This must end." "Great Elder," Elder Sunhee protested, "surely you cannot support changing laws that have existed for centuries." "Laws that are wrong should be changed," Elder Yunji said firmly, "and anyone who would punish a parent for loving their child is wrong." She turned to Admiral Jinwoo. "You spoke of your hidden daughter. Where is she now?" "On Kepler 442b, Admiral Jinwoo said quietly. "She lives with caretakers who report to me, but she doesn't know I am her father. I was told it would be better if she thought her parents were dead rather than ashamed of her." Elder Yunji's eyes flashed with anger. "You will bring her here immediately. She deserves to know her father, and you deserve to know your daughter." "But the law—" "I am the keeper of the laws," Elder Yunji said. "And I declare that any law that separates families is no longer valid." High Priest Myung-ho stepped forward. "Great Elder, if we change these laws, what will other species think of us? What if they see us as weak?" Daeho couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Look around you," she said. "Humans, Centaurians, Zephyrians, and dozens of other species have sent ships here to support you. They're not seeing weakness. They're seeing courage. They're seeing dragons who are finally brave enough to do the right thing." Commander Jaemin, the human fleet commander who had arrived to support Harmony Point, nodded. "In all my years of military service, I have never seen anything as impressive as an emperor who would risk everything to protect his child. That's not weakness. That's the kind of strength that inspires others." Wu Jin, who had been listening to everything, flew up to hover in front of Elder Yunji. "Great Elder," he said in his small but clear voice. "I don't want other disabled dragons to be alone like I was. Can we help them?" Elder Eunji looked at the little dragon floating bravely in the air, supported by human technology and dragon determination. "Yes, little prince," she said. "We can help them. We will help them." She turned to face all the assembled dragons. "I hereby declare that Emperor Taesung's actions are not only legal, but heroic. Any dragon who hides, abandons, or mistreats a disabled family member will be punished. Any dragon who needs help caring for a disabled family member will receive support from the government." Elder Sunhee looked furious. "You cannot change everything just because of one human's influence." "I am not changing everything because of one human," Elder Yunji said. "I am changing everything because it is right, and because a little dragon with a twisted wing has shown us what courage really looks like." The transformation had begun, but the hardest work was still ahead. 6 months later, the dragon homeworld looked very different. The secret facilities where disabled dragons had been hidden were closed down. In their place, new schools and medical centers opened, designed to help dragons with all kinds of abilities learn and thrive. Admiral Jinwoo's daughter, Bitna, arrived on a transport ship, nervous and confused about why she was being brought to the capital after years of isolation. When she saw her father waiting for her at the spaceport, she didn't recognize him at first. "Bitna," Admiral Jinwoo said, kneeling down so he was at her eye level. His voice was shaking with emotion. "I am your father. I am so sorry I left you alone for so long." Bitna stared at him with wide eyes. She had been told her parents were dead. "You're really my father? Why didn't you want me?" Admiral Jinwoo's heart broke. "I did want you. I wanted you so much. But I was scared and stupid, and I thought hiding—" "You would protect you. I was wrong about everything. The reunion was difficult at first. Bitna was angry about all the years she had spent alone, thinking no one loved her. But slowly, with help from human counselors like Young-ho, the father and daughter began to build a relationship. On Harmony Point, Dae-ho continued working at Stellar Wind's restaurant, but now she also ran a special program. Dragons from across the galaxy brought their disabled children to learn human techniques for adaptation and inclusion. The program was so successful that other alien species wanted to participate too. Woo-jin had become something of a celebrity, but he remained a normal, playful child. His flying skills improved every day, and he loved showing off his aerial tricks to visitors. More importantly, he had become a symbol of hope for disabled beings throughout the galaxy. "Look, Dae-ho!" Woo-jin called out as he performed a complex loop in the air. "I can do a spinning dive now," Dae-ho clapped proudly. "That's amazing, but be careful not to go too fast." Dr. Insu had published research papers about dragon-human medical cooperation that revolutionized treatment for disabled dragons. Engineer So Young's adaptive technology had been improved and was now being used by dozens of species. Young-ho had trained a whole team of counselors to help families adjust to new ways of thinking about disability. But the biggest changes were happening in dragon society itself. Emperor Tae-sung had kept his throne, but he ruled very differently than before. His first official act was to create the Department of Inclusive Development, dedicated to helping all dragons reach their full potential, regardless of their abilities. The dragon military, led by Admiral Jin Woo, began recruiting disabled dragons for specialized positions. Dragons who couldn't fly became experts in ground-based technology. Dragons with communication differences became skilled code breakers and translators. Dragons with sensory differences became excellent scouts and intelligence analysts. We discovered that we had been throwing away some of our most talented people, Admiral Jinwoo reported to the Dragon Council. Our military is stronger now than it has ever been. High Priest Myung-ho had worked with human philosophers to develop new religious teachings about the value of all life. Dragon temples now included prayers for understanding and acceptance, and many had built ramps and other accommodations for disabled worshippers. The humans taught us that diversity is not a weakness to overcome, he explained to a gathering of religious leaders. It is a strength to celebrate. Elder Unji had become Woo Jin's unofficial grandmother, spending hours teaching him advanced dragon history and philosophy. Under her guidance, he was becoming not just a symbol, but a thoughtful young leader. "Tell me about the Treaty of Stars again," Woo Jin asked during one of their lessons. "The Treaty of Stars was signed when dragons first made peace with other species," Elder Unji said. "But I think the real peace began here, on this space station, when a human waitress showed kindness to a scared little dragon. 3 years after the crisis at Harmony Point, an even more remarkable event took place. The first galaxy-wide conference on inclusive society was held on the Dragon homeworld, organized jointly by dragons and humans. Representatives from hundreds of species came to share ideas about caring for disabled citizens. The conference was opened by 2 special speakers, Emperor Tae-sung and Woo Jin. "My son will never be a traditional dragon," Tae-sung said to the massive audience. "He cannot fly with just his natural wings. He will never breathe the hottest fire or have the strongest scales. But he has taught me that strength comes in many forms." Woo Jin, now older and more confident, took the podium next. He wore a new, improved version of his flight assistance system, and his artificial wing had been decorated with beautiful patterns that matched his natural scales. "I used to think I was broken," he said. "But humans taught me that different is not the same as broken. Now I know that I am exactly who I am supposed to be." He activated his flight system and soared over the audience, performing graceful aerial dances that combined natural dragon flight with human technology. The crowd cheered as he landed back on the stage. Dae-ho watched from the audience, tears of pride in her eyes. She had been invited as an honored guest, but she still thought of herself as just a waitress who had done what anyone should do. After the ceremony, she found herself alone with Tae-sung in a quiet garden. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked her. "Getting involved in our family's problems? Your life would have been much simpler if you had just walked past Woo-jin that night." Dae-ho smiled as she watched Woo-jin playing with other young dragons, both disabled and non-disabled, all of them flying together in a joyful group. "Simpler, maybe," she said, "but not better. I got to see a little scared dragon become confident and happy. I got to see a father learn to love his son without shame. I got to see an entire civilization become kinder and more caring. How could I regret that?" Years passed, and the changes continued to spread. Other empires and federations began adopting similar policies. The galaxy became a more inclusive place, where beings with all kinds of abilities could find their place and make their contributions. Woo-jin grew up to become a renowned artist, creating beautiful paintings and sculptures that were displayed in museums across dozens of worlds. His artwork often featured themes of flight and freedom, and many pieces showed dragons and humans working together. He also became an ambassador, traveling to worlds where disabled beings were still treated poorly and helping them develop better policies. His childhood experience of being helped by humans had taught him that the best way to solve problems was through cooperation and understanding. Admiral Jin Woo and his daughter Bitna became close, making up for all the years they had lost. Bitna discovered she had a talent for engineering and worked with So Young to design new assistive technologies. She never learned to breathe fire, but she became famous for creating devices that helped other dragons overcome their limitations. Dr. Insu established medical exchange programs between humans and dragons that benefited both species. Young-ho trained thousands of counselors who helped families across the galaxy learn to support disabled members. Elder Yun-ji lived to see her 100th birthday celebration, surrounded by dragon children of all abilities who no longer had to hide who they were. She often said that meeting Woo-jin and Dae-ho had been the most important moment of her very long life. And Dae-ho? She remained on Harmony Point, still working as a waitress when she wasn't running her inclusion programs. She never married, but she considered herself part of the extended dragon family that had grown around Woo-jin. On quiet evenings, she would sit in the observation deck of the space station, watching ships come and go from across the galaxy. Sometimes, dragon ships would arrive carrying families bringing their disabled children to her programs. Sometimes human ships would leave carrying new assistive technologies bound for distant worlds. She often thought about that night when she had found a scared little dragon hiding behind garbage containers. At the time, she had just been trying to help one frightened child. She never imagined that simple act of kindness would change the course of galactic history. But perhaps that was the real lesson. The biggest changes often started with the smallest acts of love and compassion. A waitress helping a lost child, a father choosing love over tradition, a civilization learning that everyone deserves dignity and care. The galaxy was a better place, because one human had refused to walk past a child in need. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all, the belief that every life has value and that helping others is always the right choice. As Woo-jin often said in his speeches, "I learned to fly not because humans fixed me, but because they helped me discover that I was never broken in the first place." The transformation was complete, but the work of building a more inclusive galaxy would continue for generations to come.